Our text this morning is taken from the Gospel of Luke, the 9th chapter, the 10th through the 17th verses. On their return, the apostles told Jesus all they had done. He took them with him and withdrew privately to a city called Bethsaida. When the crowds found out about it, they followed him, and he welcomed them and spoke to them about the kingdom of God and healed those who needed to be cured. The day was drawing to a close, and the 12 came to him and said, "Send the crowd away so that they may go into the surrounding villages and countryside to lodge and get provisions, for we are here in a deserted place." But he said to them, "You give them something to eat." They said, "We have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fishes, unless we are to go and buy for all these people." For there were about 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, "Make them sit down in groups of about 50 each." They did so and made them all sit down. And taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke them and gave them to the disciples to set before the crowd. And all ate and were filled. What was left over was gathered up, 12 baskets of broken pieces. The gospel of the Lord. All 4 Gospels share this story of a time when Jesus was teaching thousands of people, men, women, and children, in an inconvenient place. It was inconvenient because apparently there weren't any stores or vendors where people could buy food or get some refreshments. I'm sure that when the people came to hear Jesus, they didn't intend to stay in such an inconvenient place for so long, but his teachings were so captivating that they stayed, and before you knew it, they were hungry. A young boy apparently was the only one out of that large crowd with the foresight to bring some food with him. It wasn't much, but he gave it to Jesus for the crowd. He trusted Jesus to take what he was giving him to do something good with it. And you know the rest of the story. Jesus supernaturally fed that crowd with the bread and the fish that the boy had given him. Thousands feasted, and there were plenty of leftovers. Now, most people probably would not have done what that boy did that day. Instead of sharing, some might have sold it to the highest bidder or just eaten it themselves to satisfy their own hunger. When the pandemic hit last year, many of our neighbors found themselves in an inconvenient place. Without much warning, they suddenly had to scramble to survive. Thousands of our neighbors lost jobs, or they had to leave their jobs to go home and take care of their children because a lot of daycares closed. People working in all types of industries had their world turned upside down. Normal was replaced with abnormal. No paycheck meant no money for rent, or car notes, or gas, cable, or even food. But because of generous people like you, giving to nonprofits like Dorcas Ministries, their needs were met, and people in our community did not go hungry. Last year, Dorcas Ministry served over 34,000 of our neighbors, giving them food, financial help, and even case management, which proved to be an unexpected bonus for those people. Case managers are counselors trained to walk people through crises and situations. They usually have a social worker background. We found that a lot of people just wanted somebody to talk to. They were overwhelmed. They were depressed. They'd never been in this inconvenient place before. They didn't know how to navigate the waters. Our case managers came alongside of them, developed a plan of action with them. One of the things that we found key in this crisis was we were telling people, instead of spending the money you normally would spend on groceries, which for most families was $300 to $500 a month, take that money and pay off bills, credit cards, and get your food from the Dorcas Ministries food pantry. That was a game changer for a lot of people. Some people didn't realize how much they were spending on food. But that helped them to remain stable. Case managers also walk people through the federal monies that were being pushed out to communities for rent subsidies. Most people, the average person, couldn't navigate that program. And so a lot of people just backed off of it. But those who came to Dorcas Ministries had case managers who walked them through step by step. It took one of our clients 8 months to receive that rental subsidy. That's how long the government was taking for some people. But we were right there beside her, making sure she was okay. Most of the people who came to us, that 34,000, needed food. And when the pandemic initially hit, demands for food from our food pantry quadrupled. It is still at twice the level it was pre-pandemic. A lot of our neighbors are still recovering. And you know, one of them, I'll just tell you briefly about one client. He had a speech impediment and he couldn't see very well because when the pandemic hit, we initially went online. People would call us and we'd Zoom call them. And that's how we would handle addressing their needs. But he couldn't do that. So one of our case managers for months met with him outside on a bench and helped him walk through all the paperwork and get his plan of action and get him moving forward. You know, we'll never know when we will find ourselves in an inconvenient place and need help. Who could have predicted a pandemic that would stop the whole world in its tracks? Who could have predicted that we would have to worship via Zoom? Who could have predicted that we wouldn't be able to gather in person for as long as we were apart? We didn't know. And we don't know what's going to happen next week, next month. That is why what we're about to do today is so important. In a few minutes, you'll have the opportunity to ensure that people in our community who are hungry will have something to eat, and that food will be there for you if you ever need it. Today, you're going to help to stock the food pantry at Dorcas Ministries, which happens to be one of the busiest food pantries in the Triangle. We will soon leave to go to Public Supermarket on Kildare Farm Road in 1010. And though we are fewer in number than the last time we did this in 2019, we serve a God who can take a little and multiply it to meet every need. I have to tell you, Christ the King, and I don't have a lot of time. By the way, that's a list of the items that we need in our food pantry, and please do not, there's no green beans on that list, so please, nobody get green beans, please. Every food pantry will tell you, we have plenty of green beans. But we're about to go and be a blessing. I just want to thank you on behalf of everybody who will benefit from what you do today. I do have to tell you this before I sit down, though. The 8:30 crowd really brought it home, I'll tell you. But I have every confidence that you can outdo them. And even people at home. There were couples, about 10 couples came from their home when they saw it when they saw the service and said, we're here, we saw it online, we're here to give. So I have every confidence in you that you will outdo them. God bless you.